If we haven't had a chance to meet, my name is David Trotter. I'm the founder and publisher of Awaken Magazine, and we host the Awaken Business Masterclass every month as a way to just invest in you as a conscious leader, healer, coach, author, speaker, facilitator. That is the 100% desire, is just to create an atmosphere of inspiration, encouragement, and help you walk away with a nugget of wisdom that would help you expand your business. And so each month, I invite 3 of our executive contributors to speak for 10 minutes each. And then at the conclusion of that, take your questions. So I encourage you to be thinking about your questions. You can enter those into the chat at any point in time. And then I'll pass those off to the facilitators or to the executive contributors after they're done speaking. I'll verbalize those to them. Tonight, our theme is tapping into your intuition to expand your business. So as I mentioned, we have a different theme each month. You can go back and watch the previous Awaken Business Masterclasses on our YouTube channel or in our Facebook group. They have just great content and great conversations in all of those. This is a no pitch masterclass, meaning like we're not here to sell you anything. It really is a time of encouragement and inspiration and education. I will give each one of our speakers tonight and a minute each at the end just to share about what they do and if you want to connect with them in some way. And so I would ask if you could want to keep your video on the whole time, just because as presenters, you guys know, you guys are all presenters. It's always way more fun and connecting and vibrant to talk to real faces than names. And then 2, if you can't stick around to the very end, just to honor everybody's time, that's awesome too. We are an on-time meeting. We will end at 6 because we all have different things to do. I have something to go to tonight called The Power of 3. My partner Mandy owns something called Behind the Lids Healing Collective here in Orange County. And so tonight, once a month, we have this event where it's a cacao ceremony, guided meditation, breath work, and sound bath. And tonight is the night. So got to get over and set up for that. So anyway, it's just so great to have you guys. I am so fired up. I got to tell you, great things are happening with Awaken Magazine. Just great community, great connection. So many of you that are on this call are executive contributors creating great content. So it's just super fun to be with you here tonight. So let's dive in. We're going to have 3 communicators tonight with us. First of all, we have Jacques-Pierre Cole, who goes by JPC. He's a Zen Bone monk. He is located in San Diego, and he'll be leading us in, I believe, some time of meditation and grounding. Recharge your mind, 10 minutes to reset in a busy world. Then we're going to have Royce Morales, who she's the creator of Perfect Life Awakening. She is a coach. She's going to be talking about business and intuition. Odd couple, ? And then Shelly Poovey, last but not least, she's an integrative health and peak performance coach. She is going to be presenting on harness business intuition to elevate peak performance and cultivate sustainable growth. And so they're going to share and then pass it off to each other. And I encourage you just to be mindful of, taking some notes, soaking in all the wisdom, and having your questions ready when they're done. So I will not ground us with some sort of breathing technique like I sometimes do, because we have JPC in the house who's going to be doing that for us. So JPC, get us started.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in this space. And, my whole thing is about talking about reset your mind in a busy world, right? And so just to even get started, wherever position you're in, I just want you to be in a comfortable position and take a few breaths, just 3 or 4. That's a peaceful breath that's just for you, just to kind of get us into this space where we're going to be listening, be filled with wonderful information, learn probably about each other, and just enjoy each other's company and connection. I like to begin with a story as well. And this is a story because we're talking about expand your business, expand your mind, right? So there was a samurai. Samurai was very strong, the toughest samurai in the land. And he came across a monk, and he asked this monk, "Is there a heaven or hell?" The monk looks up at him and thinks, "Who are you to ask me this question?" Samurai says, "I'm the toughest samurai in the land. I've destroyed all the armies, and I need to know, is there a heaven and a hell?" The monk looks at him, laughs, thinks, "I'm not going to tell you anything. It's a waste of my time." The samurai draws his sword. He's angry. He's frustrated. He's about to strike this monk down. And this monk looks him in the eye and he says, "That, my friend, is hell." Samurai drops to his knees, weeping, thinking how frustrated he became. He was about to strike down this monk. And after a few moments, he apologized to the monk. "I'm so sorry." And the monk said, "That, my friend, is heaven. That is paradise." So when we think about this, what are we creating in our world? What thoughts are we feeding into our mind, right? The world never stops moving. How often do we give ourselves permission to pause? That's where these mindful resets come in. That's why they're so important. Any given time, someone has 6,000 thoughts throughout their day. 74% of us, on average, feel very overwhelmed by what our tasks, our daily tasks, what we have to do. So I know that sometimes we have these meditation practices where we can sit for 20 minutes, 40 minutes. That's great. But sometimes we need these small little pockets, these little micro resets that helps us get back into our parasympathetic mode in our nervous system to help stop that stress cycle. And that's what we'll do in just a second here. Okay. So in your position that you're in, there's a sweet spot when it comes to meditation. And of course, after we do this, I'm going to give you a couple mindful meditation hacks as well. But it's breathing in through the nose, 5 seconds up with a pause, 5 seconds out. Okay. I invite you to close your eyes if you like. Of course, you don't have to, but I'll guide us in that. So take a deep breath in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll give you a moment to do your own cycle through those. We'll just do a minute of silence. Wonderful. A thing to think about, a question to ask yourself in this time is, what are you grateful for now? That's a question we ask ourselves to help reset our mind, to help us focus, to help us be present in the moment. So, sorry, I have a little cold. My 3 mindfulness hacks I'm going to give to you. One, for people who have a busy day, busy mind, they have all these things going on. Some of the top things I like to do to have these micro moments is, one, you're probably going to shower. So when you're in the shower, let the water hit the back of your neck, right? Lean forward. And then in that spot, you just breathe. Do that 5.5 seconds. That will help you get in that theta mindset. And that right there is your meditation. Okay. Another one, since most likely you're carrying your cell phone, one of the things that I would do is, for people that I feel like brought me anxiety, I changed their name. One was my mother. I changed her name to Inhale, Exhale. I said, "Mom, but they said inhale, exhale. So when she called, it triggered my mind to breathe in and breathe out. Another micro moment to help me bring the level down, right? The third one that I have for you is just about being mindful when you are, whether you're at a stoplight or whether you're like, my handle is I love coffee, but I often think about where the coffee came from, where it was picked from, how far it traveled to get to my cup. And in that thinking process, my meditation and my micro moments right there, it helps us move through the day fluidly because most of what we're trying to do is emotionally regulate. Meditation and mindfulness helps us do that. That's really what we're trying to do with these practices. So thank you so much for having this brief time with you. And I'm going to pass it over to the wonderful Royce. And Royce, you take it away. And everyone, thank you so much. And I'll be here.
Thank you so much. And thank you, David. And thank everybody for being here. I really appreciate talking to live humans. And it was quite an interesting topic that you opened us up to, David, because it's something that I've basically lived my life with, trusting my intuition in business. And I have 2 or 3 stories that I want to share about how that happened for me. But before I get into that, I just wanted to mention the fact that, gosh, trusting our intuition is not something that we're taught. In fact, we're taught just the opposite. We're taught to only trust our intellect. And in our culture, it's really hard to shift from that to valuing it, thinking that it's something that is important. You know, a lot of times we're told that we're weird if we listen to that, or silly, or, you know, there's all kinds of attitudes. And trying to integrate intuition into our business is something that really is a lot of times frowned upon. It really is. But it seems like, I don't know all of you personally, but it sure seems like everybody here in some way has practiced that in their life. I don't know if you'd applied it to your business, but I hope that you have. One of the things that I teach a lot in my program is getting in touch with our true purpose. And my true purpose showed up in so many bizarre ways that I have to tell you one of the life-changing stories that happened from listening to it. I had been a spiritual seeker my whole life. Right from the get-go, I was asking questions of my mother, and she just couldn't answer. And so I started my own journey. And one of the things that I studied was learning how to channel. And there's a whole story behind that one, which I won't get into, but it's a real interesting, intuitive experience that I had that led me to a place that taught people how to channel, because I thought it was all ridiculous. Because I had, my logical mind was strong, you know, can't fall into all of that silly woo-woo stuff. Anyway, I was asked to substitute for the teacher one evening, and I just thought, okay, fine, I don't know what I'm going to do. But we sat there in the group, and I just let everybody share, which was something that the teacher had never let us do. And afterwards, one of the students came up to me and, you know, touched me on the shoulder and said, "Royce, you seem to know a lot of stuff. Would you consider teaching me?" And in my head, I thought, this woman is insane. I'm just a seeker. I'm always a seeker. I'm never going to be anything but a seeker. But out of my mouth, words flew out that said, "Sure, I'd love to. Bring your friends." And she did. 3 weeks later, I had 12 people arrive in my living room. I had no idea what I was going to talk about, but I just trusted words as they came out. And from that point on, people just kept arriving. And I couldn't deny the information that was coming from me because it was strictly my intuition, because I didn't know any of this stuff. After people would leave, I would write everything down that I had said, and I'd cry, and I'd be, well, what am I doing? And so that's how it all began. And I never thought it would be anything I would do. I was an artist, as I was saying earlier, and I just never knew that I could do this. And then one night in meditation, I saw an image, a vision of a street sign And I saw the sign, what it said, and then I saw numbers under the street sign. And then I was told about getting on a particular street and following it until it curved and then turning right. And I was told that I was going to be renting an office. And I had been teaching out of my home and other people's homes for probably 10 years. And so I said, okay, fine, you know. So I got in my car the next day, drove down the street, and there was a curve and there was the street sign. And I looked up and there was an office that said for rent. And I walked into the office and I signed a lease. I didn't even look, I didn't even care how much it cost. And I rented it. And from that point on, I had my own spiritual center. And again, people kept arriving. And then this is the the icing on the cake, or the straw that broke the camel's back. But one of my students went on a vacation up to Big Sur, and she called me up after the vacation was done, and she said she was sleeping outside and she had a lucid dream. And the lucid dream said, you're supposed to open a store, and she was given the name of the store. And this is a person that has never done anything in retail. And she told me this whole story, and I said, oh, that's nice. And I tried to be the supportive spiritual teacher and friend. And I said, great, we'll go for it. And so hung up the phone, and within minutes, my heart started to pound. And I heard intuitively, it's not really a voice that I get intuitively, it's just a sense. And I said, you're supposed to do this with her. So I called her back and I said, I'm supposed to do it with you. And she said, oh, I knew that. And so we opened a store about a month later. And instead of doing a business plan and, figuring out all the finances and all of that, we just said, okay, universe, support us. And the universe did. And I took the role of being the buyer because I was the artist, and I would go to trade shows. Oh, and by the way, the store was one of the very first ecologically based stores in the world. And people didn't even know what the word green meant in those days. They would walk in and go, we'd have to explain everything to them. Like, why do we only carry beeswax candles? And why is this recycled? And what? So it was really interesting. But I ended up going to trade shows, and I found that I would walk down these aisles of thousands of vendors, and suddenly I would be pulled into one of the vendors, and I had no idea why. And it would end up that there would be something in there that I would buy for the store, and it would be perfect. But if I didn't listen to that intuition, if I listened to logic instead, or, oh, isn't that pretty? That would end up being on the sale table. So I learned so much from that. I learned that you've got to listen to the intuition. It's going to lead you. Not to say that it's always going to be this wonderful, Susie Sunshine experience, because it was really challenging owning a store. And it's been really challenging having my own 2 businesses. But I would much rather do what I'm doing than worry about profit margins and success in my career and all of that, because I know that what I'm doing is important and meaningful, not only for the people that I reach, but for the world, selling earth-friendly things. So that's what I have to say about intuition and business. And I hope I didn't scare anybody off, but you got to trust it because it's leading you toward your purpose. It really is. Every aspect of it is leading you there. So I will actually introduce Shelley Poovey, who's going to be our next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love that story, Royce. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And I'm going to kind of jump off that. I think, you just gave this wonderful illustration of how when there's some kind of knowing, you don't know how you know, but you know. And when you listen to that, there's sort of an unfolding that happens, right? And I'm going to kind of that's just a great way to kind of start this topic of how to harness your intuition for business so that you can elevate your peak performance and cultivate sustainable growth. Those are a lot of words. But I think it really comes down to exactly Royce, what you were saying is we all kind of are here to have a purpose as conscious entrepreneurs, a sense of having a purpose in the world, and how do we bring that alive? And, I got started working as a coach, helping conscious entrepreneurs harness their intuition for business, because I was working with a lot of people who were professional intuitives. That's what they did for a living. And as a mentor, as an educator, I noticed that people were sometimes intuitive for other people, or had good personal intuition, but that they sort of looked at business as kind of a flat land, kind of in the Harry Potter era of like, that's Muggle time, it's like that's somehow, 3D separate from sort of my spiritual gifts or my spiritual purpose. And so what I've done with my work is try to help people bring their gifts into their business, to use, develop their gifts for running their business, to help expand their impact, expand their ability to bring those gifts more fully. So in my own development and in my own work over the years of working with different people, business intuition is actually a specific thing that can be separate. Some people can be too intuitive. It's sort of like you feel everybody's feelings, or, it's like there's, a hurricane going on the other side of the planet and you feel it and you know it. And then, as Roy said, there can be that part where you're, maybe, too logical and kind of shutting down your intuition. So where's that sweet spot where you can really surf and ride those waves of your interconnectedness with your spiritual self, your incarnate self, and with others in the world? How do we elevate ourselves? And the business can be a vehicle by which we do that. And in my research, I realized intuition in business is something that everybody is using in business. And as somebody who doesn't come from a business background originally, I thought, wow, that's really cool. Intuition is not just that gut feeling of like, I know how I know. It's not just a kind of that magnetic pull. It is those things, but it's so much more. It's actually a tool for being able to make fast and informed decisions under conditions of uncertainty. And as a conscious entrepreneur, you're kind of pioneering something new. It's sort of like, for a lot of us, uncertainty is sort of the name of the game, because we're creating something that isn't necessarily trying to play by the rules, those traditional rules that would define business. Leaders who harness intuition can act quickly, spot opportunities, navigate complexity. And it's really more of like a whole person, whole self way of being able to combine your logic with that sort of non-linear way of working to just bring more clarity in where there's just that sense of knowing that has structure. It's directed. So it can bring a strong balanced approach to decision making, and that's what gives you the sustainable growth. So I think, Royce, you were just such a great example of like, I'm following my intuition, but it's not always easy. And in that place of harnessing your business intuition, it really brings you into that entrepreneurial engagement of, I'm always learning, I'm always growing. I'm really in the zone. I'm in flow because I'm just following my yes, and then reflecting on what happens. There can be those times where you're just kind of, it's a known, it's a quantity that you've experienced and you kind of have your skills. And then there can be that place of, okay, even when things are good, maybe I need to, change is inevitable. There's that pull to change. And as you move into those growth challenges or those places of uncertainty, you can tap into your intuition that's going to give you insights and awareness that goes beyond that data, beyond your lived experience and your known, and help you grow. And, I was really intrigued to find out that intuition is something that is well studied in business. Top executives, even though they don't want to admit it, and when I did my research and my market research, a lot of top executives are like, intuition is bad. We just work with data. But when they, a Harvard Business Review study actually found that CEOs who consistently relied on their intuition, I don't know how I know, they had the most significant business growth. They were the high achievers. So when you're able to combine that, you get better outcomes. And Columbia Business School has something called quantitative intuition, where you're taking data, experience, and your gut instincts to kind of work with them to address real world challenges. When you're trying to come from that place of the unknown, intuition is a game changer in getting effective results. There's also something called expert intuition. So this is something that's been well studied, where like nurses who just know when they are working with a patient, they're like, I just know that this person needs this test, or that they've got this. And it's something that evolves specific to what you do, right? So business intuition can be your business skills, but it's also can be related to the actual skill set that you're in the field that you're in. And they've done neuroscience studies where they did fMRI scans, where when people were working on intuitive decision-making, it's actually turning on this part of the brain called the insula. So there's actually something going on in our sort of neural networks and our feedback that we call intuition, but it's this sort of processing that's happening under our conscious awareness. So what our body likes to do is take information in and then break it up into smaller little chunks, give it to different parts of the brain, and then the different parts of the brain will do the work, and then it'll send that information up to the higher order processing. There's a place called the claustrum, which is like a crown-like structure in the brain that sort of has these little neurons that reach into different parts of the brain and sort of synthesize. So they think this is really kind of our conscious mind. So there's sort of this subconscious, conscious mind communication that's sort of the root of powerful intuition. And if you've ever felt like you get an intuition and it's not so strong, right? Sometimes how do you trust your intuition? Sometimes it can be a result of clarifying and refining those channels. So when you're, working with conscious entrepreneurship, every decision that you make, you get an insight, you get a guidance, and then you follow it, and then you see what happens. So you're working reflectively to attune those filters, and your intuition can actually get stronger, and your energetic alignment can get stronger as you work through. So how do you develop it? Right? Some people you might say maybe you're born with it, right? But then some people are like, I don't think mine is very strong. So how do you develop it? And there's a good research on how to develop it. And I also thought this was really interesting. Mindfulness practices, even something as simple as what we did in the opening with Jacques Pierre, really good for kind of clearing the cobwebs out, just bringing you back to the present moment and tuning up those filters. Visualization practices, repattern all those different processing centers in the brain to focus on what you want to create. And it helps align your intuition to that. And you start looking for that and picking up cues in your world. And then energy healing was actually something that came up. So Reiki or like alchemy practices can actually help clear, mental patterns and balance your emotions. And then, obviously experience. The more you practice, the more you exercise that muscle, the stronger it's going to get. So just pop into the chat here. Thank you, Lauren. I want you to think about, because really to me, the performance edge that you get with intuition is decision-making under uncertainty. And I want you to think about, as a conscious entrepreneur, an area of growth that you would like to have or that you kind of feel pulled to, but there's an area of uncertainty. Just think about that. You can write it, you can get a piece of paper, write it down, or you can pop it into the chat. An area where you need to make a decision, or maybe there's a lack of clarity. We are in such times of uncertainty and change, from one minute to the next, so many things are happening in the world. So what, where do you feel like there's a gap, So just think about that for a moment. Could be anything. And then I'm going to just guide you through a real quick, what I call like an embodied visualization that acts as an attunement and a tune-up for your intuitive pathways. Yeah. So if you don't have it yet, you can leave yourself to be open to insights. Yeah. Just letting yourself kind of be guided by your spirit or whatever wants to come through for you. And we're going to do like a little quantum leap. Yeah. So we're going to quantum leap from where you are across the gap to this clarity on the other side of the uncertainty, where you're free from the current challenges, the current constraints, and you're already there. And you don't have to know what that looks like or what the outcome is, but what would that feel like to be more fulfilled in what you want to create as a conscious entrepreneur? And really let yourself fully engage this let yourself be there. You can close your eyes if it feels helpful to tap into that, feel that in your body, and allow that feeling and that embodiment of this freedom to permeate every cell, every molecule, and all the spaces in between. Take note of everything that's around you and mostly what it feels like to be in this place. And just know that in this place, any challenges, doubts, fears, hesitations, that's all been resolved. So you're in that place where it's all been worked through and you're just in that new outcome. Take a few deep breaths here. Just feeling in, like taking in and breathing in this state, this energetic state. We're supercharging you up with this peak state and tuning up those filters, those subconscious filters. And they feel that sense of freedom and those filters go, wow, this is awesome. This is great. Like, how do I be here more often? And as you take a deep breath in, it's like you're breathing into your radiance and that sense of freedom and spaciousness in this state. And as you exhale, let that energy just radiate and broadcast out within you and around you across space and time. We're changing the resonance and entrainment pattern of everything that exists in your current state, in your current intuitive filters, and charging it up with this new energy, this new frequency. And you can even send this to your business. You may not have a business. You may have a desire of business or a consciousness of a possibility of a business. And you can send that out and say, this is what I'm doing. All the information that's coming through me and to me, I want to align with insights and awareness that bring me closer to what I want to create. And as you're fully embodied in this place, tune in and ask from the place you are now in this embodiment of this peak state for guidance, for insight. From this place, what is one action I can take? What's insight I can have that's going to support me bringing this more fully into reality, or a higher expression of what I want to create that's maybe better than I can imagine? And just trust what you receive. It could be one insight. It could be more than one insight. Just trust what comes through for you. Let yourself be surprised. And then as you slowly start to bring your awareness back to the room, bring that with you. Bring that energetic quality back with you here. And just know that every step you take from this moment forward is bringing that more and more into reality. And as you take action on those insights, those intuitions, just feel playful with it. Just think of it as playtime. Try it out, see what happens. And that's the beginning of that discovery process. And that's it. That's what I wanted to share with you. I'll turn it back over to David. Thank you.
So much, Shelley. That was wonderful. Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, JPC. Thank you, Royce. If you want to go ahead and enter questions in the chat, feel free to do that. I'll start us off with some questions. That was a wonderful meditation, just guiding us. I love that. And I don't know about you guys, but I had something come to me. I've been asking a question the last day. You guys are going to laugh about this. This may not even happen, but we're doing this like special print edition of the magazine for this expo, Conscious Life Expo. And I've been telling Mandy, I was like, I got to come up with something like really great, like really unique or whatever. And like right when we're in the thing, and this is, talk about a child of the 80s, this may not happen, but I was like, I got to get something scratch and sniff on the back cover of that magazine. That would just be some scratch and sniff, like Palo Santo or lavender or something. That came, Shelley. That would be awesome. I wasn't even asking for it. It just like came. Talk about a child of the 80s. I still have my sticker book with all my scratch and sniff stickers. They don't smell anymore. Okay, let's dive in with some questions here for JPC and Royce and Shelley. I will get us started with one of the questions is, and this can be for any of the three of you. I think I'll start with maybe Royce. Let's just say that I have that intuitive hit of like, okay, I think I'm supposed to do this. And then it doesn't go well. Like, how do you recover from that? How would you suggest we navigate when we think, oh, I know, and then it doesn't go so well? What is your thoughts on that, Royce?
Oh, well, having been there, done that many times. I mean, when I opened my store, it was actually kind of a combination store and gallery. It was a struggle, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And, every other minute I was saying, we need to close. It was really struggling. And what I did all the time is what I teach in my classes. I would look within and see, how was I blocking it? Why do I not feel deserving of having it be successful? Where am I not listening? What beliefs do I have that are getting in the way? All of the inner work, and I would have these amazing breakthroughs. But there were a lot of times that I would have to look at it in terms of, well, I'm balancing out some kind of karma that I'm not even aware of, or maybe I am aware of it. And it's never going to be this huge success because I'm here to clean some huge stuff up from past lives. So, I had to do a lot of inner delving to see what was really going on. And like I said, a lot of times it would help clear things, but a lot of times it was very clear to me that, no, this is not supposed to happen the way that I think it's supposed to happen. So, yeah.
Thank you, Royce. How about you, JPC? Would you hear that question? What comes to your mind?
Yeah. So when I hear that question, I think I work in the sense of, what are we defining as well? What are we defining as success? I think that's a place to start. What does that really look like? Because success really can be the fact that you were attempting to do something that maybe you weren't going to do before. I think sometimes there's a focus on this end result that we don't even know what that end result is. I am a person who, I like to try to define what that looks like, what that's meant to be. Then we can actually discover if it didn't work out, right? Or it just worked how it should. And how do I deal with what it is? And where do I go from there? I don't think that has to be an either bad thing or a good thing. It just is. Even though it can affect us emotionally, we got to work through that. But I do look at it as, this happened this way, and where do I want to go from there? But not necessarily like, oh, that didn't work well. It worked like it should.
Oh, that statement, your life is perfectly engineered in order to get the results that you're getting, sometimes comes to my mind too, is like your brain is engineered, your life is engineered, like you're getting these results for a particular reason. So then I got to, kind of backtrack and go, how have I engineered my thoughts, my behaviors, my attitudes, my relationships to get these results? So, Shelley, in terms of um, the like, you talked us through, you were doing something with this meditation where you were somehow, I guess I want you to tell us what you were doing in that meditation, because you were somehow like changing something in the future. Like, how would you articulate what you were doing with us?
Yeah, I think that's one way of thinking about it, is going to a future timeline and bringing that forward. Since I'm a peak performance health coach, right? One of the things that I look at is homeostasis, right? The body. And I tell people, if you're eating 30 Big Macs a day, the body doesn't go, that's good or bad. It's like, this is what I do. It's just the habits. And so that's where you get the boomerang effect with people, where they get excited about, eating better, exercising, or, as a conscious entrepreneur, like, I'm ready, I'm going to do the thing, and then, the body's not ready for it. The body's like, no, I'm over here, doom scrolling and, binge watching on Netflix and ordering, Uber Eats or whatever every day. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and so there's a lot going on in that meditation. So there's two things. I mean, it's like business shaman work, really, right? It's shamanic work, I think, where you're bringing in a future timeline that's more aligned with what you really want to create. But then you're telling every cell in your body and all the systems of the body, you're recalibrating your homeostasis, letting it feel that feeling. So when you go to take that action, it goes, oh, we're doing the thing. It's instead of resisting it, because it's used to what it's used to, it got a little taste of something better and it's on board. Yeah. So I say those meditations catalyze an unwinding of a lot of those patterns. And we can look at it as homeostasis, but you can also look at it as, past life memories, ancestral things that are held in the collective unconscious. We can have energy cords and, inhibiting contracts and all sorts of things that influence, our capacity to feel like it's possible to move forward. So those are the two sides of what we were doing.
Guys, come on, don't let me be asking all the questions. Pop some in here in the chat. Shelley, I got another question for you. So there are some individuals, I almost see this, maybe it's just, maybe you give me a different way of seeing it. I'm seeing a continuum between business, numbers, best practices, standard operating procedures, and intuition. And like, there's I don't know if it's a continuum, a collaboration, whatever it is. There are some people that I talk to that go, I just sense the spirit and then I just guide, right? And things work out or they don't work out, or they're wondering, why aren't things working out? And I'm like, well, have you thought about best practices? And there are some people, and then there's some people that are just like, nope, this is the best practice. This is what, Amy Porterfield teaches. And then I just, follow along with what she does and her, creative program. And I'm wondering why this is not working for me.
Yeah.
How do you, in your coaching with people, intuitives, how do you navigate those two extremes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my coaching, I actually work with your business as its own separate energy system that's supercharged with that peak state. So now you've got you've got your personal energy system and the energy system of your business entrained with that same goal. And the business energy can manifest outcomes that support you moving toward that peak state more easily. So to your point, when I have people set up their business energetics, I work with the qualitative, intuitive, like how do I want to feel? What's the impact? I mean, for me, it's such a strange thing that I became a business coach and that I do this work because I'm not a business. I've never been a person who cared about that stuff. I mean, I could care less. But my business taught me that I needed to care. My business taught me that I had wrong thinking. And And other people might have tried to tell me I had wrong thinking, but I needed to have a direct experience of something that allowed me to see, it's like, oh, wow, I'm thinking, if I, don't care about my business structure, then, then I'm in the healer role, or I'm in the, whatever role. And my business was like, you're overworking yourself, you're overextending yourself. Look, when you're well rested and your business is profitable, you're in a better position to make an impact. No one could have told me that. And I definitely did not think that. And so when I have people set up their business, there's the, who do you think you are and what do you think you want to do? And then we set up, there's a whole structural part of the business that I call a business assessment, where you're looking at all of your life skills and, how much money, what are your assets, and like the structures of the business. And, what's your business model? Are you a referral business model? Are you an online business? Like we do all of that stuff as well. And they work together. Where sometimes people have skills that they're dismissing. Like, oh, I had a world as a website designer. That has nothing to do with being a healer, but you put that in there and it starts to help it take shape to say, how does that past experience as a website designer support the vision of what you want to create? And it's not something you can create intellectually. It's something that has to come through the manifestation energetically.
Okay, thank you so much. I love the point, and Jen points out, she said, I've been tapping into the consciousness of my business to begin the day to align. I love that your business has, I think, that if we're looking for a nugget tonight to walk away with, everybody's offered great nuggets, but that is a very interesting nugget that if we all said, okay, what's the question that you would have us ask, Shelley? What is the fill in the blank? Like if I'm talking about my business, what is the energetics of my business? How would I ask that question?
You mean like to begin your day to align?
No, just like if I've never even thought about my business having its own energetics or whatever, like what would be the first question that I would ask to begin to process that? What is the energetic quality of my business? Like, what would you say?
Well, yeah, I think you could think about it just the same as your body, the energetics of your body, right? It's like you have resources and, are those resources replete? Is everything getting where it needs to go? Or all the different systems of the body working together cooperatively? It's an ecosystem, right? So I think that would be like a good starting point for understanding business energetics is its own separate ecosystem. Is that helpful?
That's great. Miranda mentioned that she wants to say that her business is run by her ancestors. I'm an indigenous Alaskan, and all my intuition and skills are led and guided by them. They even guide me in all things business, even with post ideas for social media. They give me the words to share with everyone. When I follow their lead, all goes well. Love that. So good. Okay, Sandy D says, what books or podcasts do you recommend to learn more about trusting your intuition? I read this great poetry book the other day. It's called Dragonfly Dances. Man, it's so good. It's by this woman named Sandy D. Just kidding. Sandy's got a great book called Dragonfly Dances. So you check it out. Half in English poems and then half in French. You can guess the half that I don't understand. What books, Royce, JPC, Shelley, or podcasts do you recommend to learn more about trusting your intuition? Anything come to your mind that comes in? Any of the three of you, or anybody else? Feel free to pop one in the chat. I know Sophia says, as you guys are thinking, I have one called All Things in the Name of Love, where I speak with my guest about their spiritual journeys. So that's a podcast by Sophia. That's great. Any books, Joyce or Royce?
Personally, I think that intuition is a totally experiential thing. And the only thing that I've ever done to enhance my intuition is just to learn to trust it and clear out all the fears and the false notions and the lack of deservingness getting in the way of allowing it to just flow. Unfortunately, I haven't seen many books that that I would recommend to do that because it is so experiential. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's really any book on mindful listening. I think that's where a lot of things start to build the building blocks. So they're really listening to your intuition to really focus on that. So I don't have a particular book in mind, but I do know that, listening is an art that we develop. And sometimes that's where we start with the art of listening to ourselves, which that in itself can hopefully build the blocks to uh, trusting and learning more about our intuition. But that's a starting place that I find when it comes to that.
Thank you. Shelley Roberts suggests Intuitive Awakening. Lauren Dickinson suggests Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul. If you haven't read The Untethered Soul or the companion book, which I can't remember the name of it at the moment, that just, oh man, so good. And if you're not a reader, he has great conversations with Oprah that you can search on podcasts that are really, really helpful. Shelley, did you have anything to add to that in terms of books or podcasts?
Yeah, I'll recommend. There's two people that I've mentored with, and one is Laura Day. She wrote How to Rule the World from Your Couch and The Circle. She might have written a couple more, but she's excellent for that. And then also Cindy Dale has written about 40 different books on energy healing, and she talks a lot about the different types of intuition. And she has assessments to find out what your intuition types are. And she's really great at, if you want to get started understanding your personal intuition. It's really good stuff.
Chad, if you don't mind, because that sounds, I'm not familiar with that individual. That would be great for people to have. Good. Any last question that anybody has got that they want to pop in the chat? This has been so good. And my hope is that you are, like this is getting your brain going, right? Where you're going, oh, okay, wow, I want to just be even more mindful of, well, like one of the questions that I had for myself was, okay, how do I sense or feel that intuition when I sense or feel it? Like, because I know a lot of it could be a clear sense. But what is that? Is it a word? Is it a thought? Is it a feeling? Is it a knowing? Is it a hunch? Whatever it is. I think I want to just be more mindful of that. And as I'm going about my work. Well, I would love.
For me, it's a knowing. It's just a knowing, and I think that Shelley said it. It's knowing that you know, and not knowing how you know. You just know.
Yeah, it does seem that strong. That's pretty strong for most people. Well, I would ask you guys just to hang in there for another 5 minutes, because I would love for you to hear from each of our presenters tonight, just kind of what they do and how you can connect with them. And this is a way of honoring them for the investment that they've made in us. If you look in the chat, you'll see their names, their URLs, and their Instagram. You can just copy and paste that if you want. JPC, would you mind just telling us, like in 1 minute, what you do and how people can take advantage of that or connect with you?
Yeah, definitely. The information you put in there, my website and Instagram is the best way to connect with me. What I do is help people with internal and external conflict. So I grew up in very violent beginnings, and I struggled with mental health, bipolar depression, in fact. And so I have used meditation mindfulness techniques in a modern time to help emotionally regulate, right? Just what I was saying in the beginning here. And that's what I help people learn to, how do you process all the emotions and all the different things that you're dealing with? Because I am definitely a product of someone who had lots of battles to deal with, and what I've done to get to the point to where I'm at to be able to move through life very fluidly is due to my practices. So that's what I help people with. And yes, definitely go to my website or go to my Instagram to contact me. And I definitely would be able to sit, work with you, consult, and see if I'm someone who could help you learn some of these techniques.
Do you lead on Insight Timer? Did I see that?
No.
You don't? Okay.
I should.
Well, yeah, I think my intuition was just giving you an idea. All right.
Yeah.
Royce, tell us about what you do.
I am the founder of Perfect Life Awakening, which is an inner journey of discovering who we really are by deleting, shall we say, who we aren't. It's an inner processing technique that I developed intuitively that helps people to clear out that lack of deservingness and the negative beliefs and false programming that we're living with. And it goes very deep. It is a lot of work. I give people shovels and mirrors. I have them hanging on my necklace here, and so that they can really go deep and clear out the roots, the origins. It's not superficial work at all. It gets to the origins of those false beliefs. And by doing that, you discover who you really are, and you get empowered and deserving and joyful and all kinds of good stuff. So reach out to me if you feel like you're ready to do that deep work.
Royce. And Shelley Poovey.
So I do a lot of different things, but primarily I do energy healing work. I primarily work with people who are looking to break through and tap into that deep wellspring of potential and bring that into manifestation. So I do a lot of work with alchemy and manifestation for people who are conscious entrepreneurs or want to be healers. And I do business coaching, but I do it more from this energetic place. So I have a group coaching program that takes you through kind of a little taste of what you got tonight. We do a lot of that. We really go in depth. And I also do that in personal coaching. And then I also do energy healing programs, certification programs, and training for people who are interested in developing their energy healing skills.
Thank you. I encourage you to follow all three of them on Instagram just to be able to stay connected. I also want to recognize tonight, we've got quite a few executive contributors to Awaken Magazine joining us. Shelley Roberts is here. Of course, Shelley Poovey, Royce Morales, Jacques Pierre, Miranda Miller. Miller is your last name, right? Miller, yes. It's so funny. I know Miranda Mitchell, so I was like, wait, it's not Mitchell. And Lauren Dickinson, Sandy D. And so all of them are wonderful contributors to the magazine. So thank you guys for being a part of the community. And it's just great to be with you. It just feels good to talk about these just good things and be together and learn and grow. And so know that we have this every month. We'll even be doing it in December. And yeah, different topics each month. You can sign up at Awaken Business or awakenmagazine.com/masterclass. Yeah. And encourage you to connect with one another. So thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening, and may you be more in touch with your intuition, and may you be even more in touch with the energetics of your business, as we talked about tonight. And thank you so much for your participation. Right. See you guys.